Hello and welcome to WhatWorked Education. And my name is Dr. Wayne Howson and I'm co-founder. And this is the free course for the EdTech Standards of Evidence for teachers. I want to start with a quick quotation, and I read this back when the document was released from the Education Endowment Foundation using digital technology in the classroom. So we live in a digital age. Technology has transformed how we do things, from communication with friends and family to learning about the world around us. The pupils we teach do not know life without it. The opportunities it offers us to improve education are truly exciting. The question is no longer whether technology should have a place in the classroom, but how technology can most effectively be integrated in ways which achieve improved outcomes for young people. And that was a quote by Sir Kevin Collins, the former CEO of the Education Endowment Foundation. However, ed tech can be incredibly frustrating. I remember the times when I started training as a teacher, and the interactive whiteboards had just been introduced. So before you'd have the projector going onto it, you'd still use the projector. You'd have a whiteboard which was interactive, but we didn't know how to use them. There was a timer. There were certain things that we could do, but there was limited amounts that we could do with the original whiteboards when they arrived. And I often found that I was still writing on the whiteboard, the traditional one, at the side of the digital one, and just mainly used it as a projector. But a lot of funds went into fitting out schools with digital whiteboards. The same goes for the introduction of tablets in schools. Quite often, schools will buy tablets and devices, but without truly thinking how these can actually impact learning and what we can use them for within the classroom. And the same is happening with virtual reality. So we're coming into a space now where there's a lot of advancements in virtual reality and augmented reality. But again, how do we use this within the classroom to cope with the tech, but does it actually have any impact? And this leads on to actual claims that are on EdTech websites. And I'm just using this one as one example. And this is from a VR company. And I've deleted the name so you can't see the name of the company. But on their website, they have some pretty bold claims on the first page that you land on, in that learning through experience can boost knowledge retention by up to 75%. We only remember 10% of what we read, but we retain 90% of what we experience. And for achievement, VR can improve student attainment, increasing exam results by 20%. So these are pretty bold claims. Where this research comes from is not clear on the website, but it looks like it's from the NTL learning pyramid. You might have come across this, where it goes through lecturing, you've got the readings 10%, audio visual 20%, very similar to VAC, okay, which is the audio, visual, and kinesthetic. A paper was published in 2014 by Electrode, which just totally debunks most of any theory that sits behind this, in that there's no evidence at all. I've personally looked, I've spent a good amount of time trying to find the evidence that underpins the NTL learning pyramid, and I can't find any evidence either. So it looks like this is just something that has been perpetuated over time. And the problem that we have now is that with the release of VR, it's starting to resurface. So if you see these claims, it's just one of the things that the whole point of this course is to help you to be able to judge: is the evidence there? Is it robust? And will this help inform your purchasing decisions in the classroom? So why do we need to develop a global standards of evidence for EdTech? Well, there's a global movement towards the use of evidence in education. If you look over in the United States, you have the Every Student Succeeds Act, which was released. And this is where schools and school districts basically have to look at the evidence that underpins EdTech. So they have a tiered structure of evidence, which we'll cover in a few moments' time. But schools have to look at what evidence actually underpins the tech that they're buying in. In the UK, we have the Education Endowment Foundation, and over 70% of school leaders now use the Teaching and Learning Toolkit to inform their decision making for disadvantaged learners for the pupil premium. And over in Australia, we have the recently released Australian Education Research Organisation have got a standard of evidence to help practitioners assess the effectiveness of programs and interventions before they use them in the classroom. And if we go into the research evidence behind that, there's plenty of papers out there, but this is a good one by Professor Stephen Gorard and his team. And is technology always helpful? A critical review of the impact of learning outcomes of educational technology in supporting formative assessments in schools. I won't read out the abstract, but it basically explains that there's very little robust evidence that underpins EdTech at this moment in time. And this is a common theme that we often see. A key read, if you haven't read one already, if you're interested in digital learning, is Using Digital Technology to Improve Learning from the Education Endowment Foundation. And this is a guidance report. And one of the things that I like about this is that they have a section which explains the different types of evaluations and trials that they've run looking at digital learning. And it's summarized in a nice table. And what you can see here is that EdTech has the potential to be positive. And you can see from there that the Accelerated Reader program in 2015 had a positive 3 months progress, but it also has the potential to have no impact. And you can see a couple of studies there with zeros and also a negative impact on learning. So the key thing with educational technology is to realize that it has the potential to do good. It has the potential to make very little difference, but it also has the potential to have a negative impact on learning. So we're going to finish this chapter off with just a quick thing on OpenAI and ChatGPT. And if you're a teacher and you haven't seen this, then you will soon learn more about it pretty quickly. But I tagged into it as, why is it important to test the effectiveness of EdTech products? And this was a response that I gave, which I thought was pretty good. Is testing the effectiveness of EdTech products is important because it helps to determine whether or not technology is actually improving student learning outcomes. Without testing, it would be difficult to know if the technology is having a positive impact or if it is a waste of resources. Additionally, testing can provide valuable feedback to the developers of the technology, which can be used to make improvements and ensure that the product is meeting the needs of educators and students. So we're going to quickly look at how much funding actually goes into EdTech on a global scale. And this was released in 2021, which shows that between 2014 and 2021, there has been a six-fold growth. There was 20.1 billion invested into EdTech in the year of 2021. In 2022, that did drop down to about 10 billion, but that's still a significant amount of funding that is going into developing new EdTech products. So we need to start developing an evidence base around that. In this course, the learning aims are to develop your knowledge in the key areas of research design. This will hopefully then lead on to an increase in your ability to be critical with evidence that you see, and to introduce a framework to help you to assess the quality of evidence that EdTech products have.